So if you're born this year and going forward, you're part of Generation Beta or Gen Beta. Yes, there's a whole new generation to remind you that yes, you're getting old. That's the first thing I thought of. But I want to have a chat with you about this new Gen Beta and essentially what it means for markets, etc. Let's just jump right in. So the headline, introducing Gen Beta, the children born starting 2025. So yes, there is a new generation. If you're curious, I'm Gen X. The one before me are the baby boomers, and these are the current generations. I just feel really old. At least I'm not the oldest, but I'm getting up there. And then after that, you got the millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and now Gen Beta starting in 2025. If we have anyone in the channel who's older than baby boomer, please let me know. I'd like to hear. I'm curious. And essentially, Gen Beta, I guess, is going to be a little bit different than the rest of us. Here's a description of Gen Beta going forward. At least one blogger thought so. It says here, for Generation Beta, the digital and physical worlds will be seamless. While Generation Alpha has experienced the rise of smart technology and artificial intelligence, Generation Beta will live in an era where AI and automation are fully embedded in everyday life, from education and workplaces to healthcare and entertainment. And the first thing that I thought of when I was reading through the stuff about this whole new Gen Beta is actually Ready Player One. If you've seen this movie or read the book, you probably know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you should check it out. The movie's actually pretty good, and the book's not bad either. I've read it, and in fact, while you're checking that out, you can also check out my book called Positive Angle. And I essentially write all of my best advices because people sometimes ask, "Hey, Chris, what do you advise going into the future? What do you think about Gen Beta?" I literally write about it in my book. But regarding Ready Player One and the movie and the book and that kind of stuff, they basically predict a world where we're all going to be, living in a trailer park stacked on top of each other. So a bunch of trailers stacked and have headsets on and live in a virtual world and dream about the past, I guess, and like how it used to be cool in the 80s. That's sort of their prediction. My personal opinion on this stuff, and we'll read the description again and again. This is Gen Beta. The digital and physical worlds, right? They're going to be like seamlessly embedded. I think that's the language where AI and automation are fully embedded in everyday life, education, workplaces, healthcare, and entertainment. Certainly the Zoom world is a real thing, right? Work from home. A lot of people do that these days. I don't know how many schools do like school from home. But certainly a possibility, let's say with like online tutoring, these kind of things. But I do think there's, still some need for real social interaction, face to face. I think there's still some need for that. But to be perfectly, fair, you're watching me on YouTube. I'm hanging out with you. We write each other in comments, and this is part of our daily lives. So it's not like that digital communication is, completely, how can I say, irrelevant. I mean, it's important. We call each other on the phone, etc. It's just the interesting idea that it'll be fully embedded, and then they include the stuff with AI and automation. So I'm a little bit leery on the AI automation stuff. I'm fine with the digital communication. I'm used to emailing people, back and forth. People form romances. You guys know this. Playing World of Warcraft or whatever games. I don't know if World of Warcraft is still the hot romance game that people are playing. You guys can let me know what it is, or I guess maybe the we'll just call it the fans channel. You guys know which one I'm talking about, where you essentially hang out with your favorite. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that too much. We'll put your favorite idol, however you want to say it. There's people who do that stuff. But that stuff's really important to a lot of people, and maybe that's replaced your World of Warcraft or stuff like that. I just don't know. I don't know if people are doing romances on this stuff. But yeah, you can meet people in chat rooms or whatever. I guess your Discords are popular these days. People do all kinds of stuff to meet people online. When I was a kid, the online dating stuff was kind of new, right? It was just coming out. People thought it was a little bit weird, and then now I guess that's all the rage among young people. And just imagine what Generation Beta is going to be coming and thinking going forward. Now they're already getting a little bit of shade. I'm sure you guys know. I just want to show you a definition. The beta male, right? So it's literally Generation Beta male. The definition would be a subordinate male animal in a particular group, or a man tending to assume a passive, subservient role in social or professional situations. So, dudes, don't necessarily let the definition of your generation define you, although that is the definition. So there's going to be a lot of jokes in that on that generation. So there's that. But do be reminded that beta rhymes with data, and that's what this is all about. Going forward, right, in 2025, right, as a new generation of beta, is born, we're going to be talking about AI continually. Microsoft, they made some sort of announcement they're going to invest $20 billion into AI data centers in 2025. They even wrote this really long blog post. If you want to read it, you can. The title was Golden Opportunity for American AI. And there was this whole rigmarole on things that they're recommending. Even Fox News is running this story. Fox News, they quoted a part here from Microsoft stuff, and it says, this starts with advances in investments in world-leading American AI technology and infrastructure. Second, the country needs to champion skilling programs that enable widespread AI adoption and enhance career opportunities across the blah, 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 blah. Also says here, most focus on the exporting American AI to our allies and friends, bolstering our domestic economy and ensuring that other countries benefit from AI advancements. And when I'm thinking about this, is like, I'm not quite sure if our friends will be so happy if we're exporting XI to them. Maybe we're kind of ticking them off. If you guys haven't seen, I'm just talking out loud. If you haven't seen the movie Her, and I always recommend movies on this channel, but Her is a fantastic movie. It is basically kind of like, in the future, will we develop relationships with our AI? I think that's a very real possibility for many people. And in this day and age, with that stuff advancing quickly, and if people do indeed and subscribe to these services, sure, they'll roll that stuff out. But that's the bet that Microsoft and other companies are making. Elon Musk is trying to sue his way into that sort of new honeypot, I guess you could call it. Again, I'm still a bit leery on this stuff. I understand that some people really like the AI thing, but it's going to use a lot of power. There's still going to be a lot of investment that made into it, and again, will the consumers show up? I want to read a few comments from our community because it's always fun to hear your thoughts. I actually do read everyone's comment. I can't reply to everyone, but I do read them all. But this is someone named Desperax, and Desperax says, "What do you mean? Money comes from credit cards, and the more credit I have, the richer I am." And this was in reply to sort of talking about our modern economic system, and our two favorite, I guess you call them, I'm trying to word to say. We'll say first buddies, if you want to say celebs or whatever, or famous people, would be Musk and Trump. And I was explaining to you guys before how much of their supposed wealth is all based on borrowing on leverage assets. It's like borrowing on top of borrowing. And I just thought this sort of phrase, thought by someone in our community. What do you mean? Money comes from my credit cards, and the more credit I have, the richer I am. That's our modern world. Also, this is another comment from our community. Bright says, a lot of these people make no sense until you acknowledge at the core of their value system is economic rather than social. Moral people moral people base their ethical conduct around social contract, while people like this, it's based on the principles of money. Money makes, kneel to mammon, and bathe in the gold. I'm bringing this stuff up, guys, is because I know we talk a lot about money on this channel. We talk about the news and stuff going around. My personal opinion on this stuff is it is necessary to understand the economic system and the world that we live in if you want to be successful. It's just necessary. That's the modern day age that we live in. But I wouldn't necessarily say that the money and wealth is the end all be all, in the sense that you have to show off your money all the time and you have to go into as much debt as possible. I think you want to be thinking about money in terms of like security for yourself, so you don't have the stress, not getting as much money as you can to create more stress. There is an interesting philosophy to where you could think of the more money you get, it just magnifies who you are. I'll give you an example. So let's say today in your world, you become really emotional, and you say buy a bunch of hamburgers when you get sad, or eat ice cream when you get sad. Like that's sort of like how you express your emotion. If I give you a bunch of money, the difference would be like, maybe you're gonna buy a McDonald's when you get sad, or you're gonna buy a hospital. I'm just saying, for example, because I guess you need the McDonald's, you need the hospital to heal all of your wounds. But or for example, when you're, not as have as much money, you break up with your, boyfriend or girlfriend, and maybe just a circle of friends know about it. Suddenly you got a ton of money, and you break up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, and then the whole world knows about it, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that you're still going to be the same person regardless of whether you have money or not. A lot of it is how you carry yourself in your mind. And again, money just magnifies that. The mistakes that you make today will just be bigger mistakes with more money, right? And you're still going to be human. And so that's something that I try to emphasize with you guys where we talk about economics, our social system, et cetera, is understand that the people at the top are human beings. They're not deities. And sometimes kids these days, they worship money too much, and they think these rich people are flawless. And in fact, it's the opposite. Many of these people are deeply flawed because they treasure money over everything else. And so I just think, when we have these conversations every day, I think it's important to talk about. We have to talk about our economic system going forward also, because as the first person's comment really struck home, where hey, I'm rich because I have tons of credit cards. um, I feel like that the whole world is turning that way. That's just the reality. China, this is the headline. It says China's central bank plans policy overhaul as pressures mounts on the economy. Basically, it looks like they're going to try to lower interest rates. I think they're low already, maybe 1.5% or something like that. Compared to the U.S., I think what are we at, 4.5% and something in that nature. But essentially, how much more can they lower rates? Basically, they want to get people to start borrowing again, and get that economic engine going, be it buy your houses, buy your cars, etc. But it's tough to convince people to do when the bubble's essentially popped in their real estate. Now, I'm not against credit. I'm not against loans, right? That's part of our modern world, right? You get a loan, you get a house, and essentially, right, you'll get like a 30-year loan that's pretty standard. Enables you to live a better life, opposed to waiting 30 years to save and then finally buy a house, right? So, if you were going to pay cash, it modernizes our lives essentially, right? Same with the education. You make an investment in that. You borrow money, you go to school, you come out, hopefully get a job to, pay off said loan and make more and have more earning power. I know that's getting to like, very controversial stuff, because these days a lot of people say, oh, you don't need to go and get educated. I disagree, but it's a long conversation on that one. I'll just say this: it depends what you study, where you go, and how hard you work when you get there. I mean, there's a lot of variables in place, so there's never an easy answer for any one of these things. The same way with the house. Some people say, never buy a house. Some people say you have to buy a house. My opinion on this stuff, and just talking about any of these things, going forward, I see a lot of, what's the right word to say it? A lot of headwinds in the markets and world economies. I see that they're struggling in China. I feel like we're in a bubble everywhere. But when's it actually going to pop? My personal opinion is, if I had to choose, I'm taking physical assets like real estate way ahead of your cryptos and stuff like that. I think your cryptos can disappear in a heartbeat, whereas something like a house, it's yours. You buy it, it's yours. And there's that. And yes, there's maintenance. I get that. And yes, there's property taxes. Trust me, I totally get that. But given the choice of the two, certainly everything's going to depend on your neck of the woods, what your goals are, and where you live, right? Everything has changed. But I'm trying to put this all together of like what's going on in our markets and our world. So China's having a meltdown right now. They're trying to figure out what to do. They're actually building a lot of new power infrastructure. This was an interesting article that was today. It says the dangers of China's planned mega dam. I guess they're building like this huge dam. They're also building a ton of nuclear power. The writer of this particular one was critical of China here, which I get their arguments. I thought was interesting. So basically, they were saying, China's spending all this money on infrastructure, right? Putting out power, and you could make the argument that, say, Elon Musk is doing the same kind of thing. He's building all these data centers, and he's sucking power from neighborhoods, and he's, just to be very frank, Musk is putting this stuff in poor cities. It's just how it is, unfortunately. Taking their water and their power. And the argument in this article makes the same case that I make when, say, talk about the Musk situation is, instead of improving people's education and healthcare, we're building data centers and power plants to power all this AI stuff that we may or may not need. That's I mean that's why I brought up the whole generation beta thing. Like, is that the world that we want? This sort of digital and physical world seamlessly matched, and that's why I brought up the comments of you guys about talking about money and these kind of things. For example, let's say you had a company and you said, okay, I'm going to have a company. I'm going to hire only robots, have a whole bunch of AI. and I'm going to be a single person and no human contact at all. Maybe it's, maybe you're going to make a bunch of money doing that, but there's something fulfilling as an employer, as a boss, of mentoring young people. There's something fulfilling about that. There's something fulfilling about working together as a team with real people. And any of you who've ever been a boss or a mentor, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. Something nice about being able to offer someone a job. That it is a fantastic feeling, and you're providing value to other people. So I'm old. I'm old school, whatever. I feel a little sentimental about having relationships with people, and I'm, maybe I come from a different generation. Maybe the kids today, or I guess the Gen Beta going forward, they're going to be born with smartwatches and iPads in their hands, and maybe they'll have a whole new way of thinking about things, and the AI is going to be their friend, and forget about real people. Maybe. I mean, there's certainly a possibility of that. I don't know. I can't predict that stuff in the future. I grew up with video games myself. I like video games, but I'm more of like the ET Goonies generation where we actually rode our bikes around everywhere. I just don't know if kids do that anymore. And there's something to be said for riding bikes. These days the young kids, or what I consider young kids, say kids in their 20s or 30s or whatever, they're all watching Stranger Things, which basically depicts my generation, right, where we were like I said, ET and Goonies and stuff like that. And if you guys are old enough to remember these things, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's something about that, right? And I think about the movie Stand by Me as well, which I think took place in Maine. It should be Maine. But they might, I don't know if they filmed it in Maine. They might have filmed it in Oregon. For some reason, I get my yeah, because Goonies is Oregon. That's Astoria. You guys can write in the comments where they filmed Stand By Me. So I'm getting all nostalgic on you. But I think, like I said, I think there's something to be said for physical contact, exercise, hanging out with your friends in person. But on the reverse, or the to play devil's advocate, there's something also to be said for having contact digitally to where I can make friends all around the world. So but this is exactly what the Gen Beta said thing. They say the seamless integration of digital and physical worlds. So yeah, it's interesting to talk about. Going forward also as well as like we have to power all this stuff, right? So if we are going to live in Ready Player One, are we going to be building a bunch of nuclear power to meet those power needs? So the USA, I guess we did some sort of new change with our tax system. This was and then all the nuclear powered stocks went up like crazy. This is something that is going on in China as well. They're building a bunch of reactors or something. It was like 37. It was like really a lot. And I'll just say this. There always are going to be environmental concerns with any of this power generation, right? So if we don't go nuclear, theoretically, we're drilling in the middle of the ocean. Biden made an announcement today. I guess he wants to try to ban some of that stuff. I'm for environment, so I would disagree with you on the whole, drill everywhere, drill baby drill, and we can have disagreements and stuff, but I just disagree. But I do agree we probably do need more power. I don't necessarily think that I want people to have no power during the winter. So we probably should develop all sorts of different ways to do that. If I was a student these days in school, I think any kind of power related major going forward is going to be really important. And that'll never end. We'll never, not need power. That'll be something that we'll need. Even I guess theoretically the zombies do come and go to the Walking Dead world. They still need power in that world. So there's that. But the other thing going forward as well, and just sort of a shift away from power. Just want to let you guys know the news of this one where, some things change, some things don't change. There was a warning that came out from the Surgeon General that said, hey, alcohol may cause cancer. They want to put a warning label on all the alcohol bottles and stuff like that. So the alcohol stocks actually went down. But is anyone going to take this seriously? That doesn't matter. I mean, I get the smoking one, right? People don't really smoke anymore, but getting people to like stop drinking, I think that's a non-starter, to be perfectly frank. Now, to be fair though, if there are certain companies that are putting like extra, or can you say chemicals in these things that are carcinogenic, yeah, definitely you should stop and cut it out with that and stick with all natural things. And actually that has been a movement. It's been interesting. I've been hearing and actually we talk about here in Korea to where some people want to just get only organic wines or organic whiskeys, this kind of stuff. I don't talk about alcohol that often on this channel, but we actually went to, and I'll put a link if you guys want to see it. My wife and I, we went to a what do they call it? A spirits and wine expo on our vlog channel, and this actually was really fun. If you've never been to one of those expos, they're like, I'm serious, they're really really fun. And that's something that you can't do digitally. You got to do physically. Go there, and it was basically taste everything that you could ever want. So anyway, I just wanted to share some thoughts on this one. I thought was really quite interesting. Gen betas, the new generation going forward, and that's the question. Are they really going to be, including AI and, automation and digital and physical all in, I guess, one package, and that's going to be normal to them? I still push back. I'm Gen X, but I'm old. So thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.